The first time I heard the voice, I thought it was a prank, a late-night glitch, one of those weird voicemails that show up blank but leave you unsettled for no reason. But this one didn't come blank. It came at 3:14 a.m., like a scream in the stillness. I was in bed, eyes gritty from editing my podcast until nearly dawn. I reached for my phone, bleary-eyed, already irritated. The screen flashed. Unknown caller. Voicemail. 011. 11 seconds. That's all it took to unravel my life. I hit play. Help me, please. I'm inside. Static. Breathing. And then, impossibly, another voice. Young, trembling. Get her out. Before he sees. The message ended with a sharp click, like the line had been severed. I froze, sitting up, heart pounding. The whisper still echoed in my mind. Inside what? Who was she? And who was he? I checked the call log, no number. No ID.
No trace.
The message hadn't come from outside. It had come from inside the phone. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The morning light crawled across my apartment like it was trying to avoid me. I sat hunched over my desk, headphones on, scrubbing through the message again and again, slowing it down, boosting the audio, isolating the static. Every time the voice hit me harder. Too human, too desperate to be fake. 11 seconds. That was all she had. I named the audio file Last Call 1.wave and loaded it into my podcast software. Within 2 hours, I'd recorded a full emergency episode, The Last Call bonus drop. I told my audience everything I knew, which wasn't much. A haunting message, a voice crying for help, a line that felt like it wasn't just broken, it was forbidden. Listeners exploded. My inbox lit up with messages. Creepy AF. This gave me chills. Probably a prank, but I'm hooked. One email stood out. Subject line. You're not the first. The sender was Tom Langford, an investigative journalist I'd once interviewed for an episode on digital surveillance. He left a number. I called. He answered on the first ring. I was hoping you'd reach out. He sounded tired, spooked. You've heard the voicemail? I have, I said. Have you? There was a pause. Then, I got one too. A year ago. It ruined my life. We met that afternoon in a dimly lit diner on the east end of the city. Classic checkered floors, coffee that smelled like burnt motor oil, and booths with cracked vinyl seats. Tom slid a thumb drive across the table. What's this? I asked. Original audio. From my voicemail. I plugged it into my laptop and played it. The voice was the same, female, frightened. Please, help me. I'm inside. Then came the second voice. That's what chilled me. He's listening. He's always listening. I froze. Tom watched me carefully. I traced the call logs. Dead ends. They don't just spoof numbers, they scrub them. But one blip stood out. A server node in Chernivtsi, Ukraine. Completely dormant since 2007. How is that even possible? It isn't. As the waitress refilled our coffee, I leaned in. Why me? Why now? Tom's fingers drummed the table. I think it spreads. Like a virus. Data that wants to survive. I laughed nervously. A haunted voicemail virus? His expression didn't change. No joke. I've interviewed 3 people who got similar messages. Each one ended up missing. One disappeared mid-episode of a live stream. Another's phone was found in an abandoned house, still recording. And the third. Tom held up his phone and played a clip. A woman's voice, distorted, panicked. If you get the call, don't answer. It's not a call. It's a trap. The clip ended in static. I swallowed. What happened to her? He hesitated. They found her phone embedded in a wall, literally fused to drywall. No trace of her. That night, back home, I recorded a second episode. The tone was different this time, less curious, more frightened. After I uploaded it, I sat alone in the dark, the only light coming from my screen. I stared at my phone. It lay on the table, as still and silent as a corpse, until it buzzed. I jumped. Unknown caller. I didn't answer. Not at first. I watched the screen. Ring. Ring. Then it stopped, and a new voicemail appeared. Trembling, I played it. Static. Then, Mia. My name. My blood ran cold. The voice was mine. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't move. That voicemail, my own voice, whispering my name, had clawed its way into my spine. It didn't just scare me. It felt like a crack had opened somewhere in the wall of reality. A tear, and something was peeking through. I replayed it over and over. My voice, but not quite. It carried a trembling edge, as if spoken through gritted teeth or chattering lips. Slightly too soft, slightly too far away. Mia. Only that one word. No background noise. No static this time. Just the sound of someone who sounded like me, begging to be heard. I called Tom. He didn't answer. I texted him. Got a second voicemail. This one was me. No reply. His silence felt like another nail in the coffin. I stared at my phone, hands shaking, and noticed something strange. The layout of my apps had changed. My weather widget was gone from its usual spot on the home screen. Now it sat alone at the top left corner, pulsing faintly, as if someone, or something, wanted me to notice it. I tapped it. Nothing. Just a black screen. I tapped again. The screen flickered, and for the briefest second I saw an eye. Human. White. Bloodshot. Looking at me. I dropped the phone. I told myself it was a hallucination. Sleep deprivation. Stress. My job had driven me close to the edge before, but this felt different. I picked up the phone and opened the front-facing camera. Nothing strange. Except, my reflection wasn't moving. I moved my head. Didn't. I blinked. She didn't. Then she smiled. I did not smile. I flung the phone across the room, heart racing. It hit the wall, bounced off the couch, and went dark. I sat in silence, breath coming in ragged bursts, adrenaline crashing into terror. I didn't tell anyone the next part, but I should have. At 3:33 a.m., the phone turned itself on. The screen glowed, pure white, and a message appeared. Let me show you. The next morning, I found Tom's number disconnected. No voicemail. No ring. Just an immediate dead tone. I biked to his apartment. The door was unlocked. Inside, cold coffee. A buzzing fridge. His phone sitting on the table. Recording. I picked it up. The screen was cracked, but still functional. One app was open, voice memos. It had been recording for 11 hours. I hit stop. Played it back. Static. Footsteps. Breathing. Then, he's coming. I didn't answer. I didn't answer. I cut. Nothing. I called the police. They searched. Tom Langford was officially missing. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. But I knew. I knew what happened. He'd answered the third call. I checked my own call logs. The first call, 3:14 a.m. The second, 3:33 a.m. The third, still pending. The realization chilled me. If Tom's third call had taken him, mine was still coming. It wasn't over. It hadn't even begun. That night, I tried to disconnect. I powered down my devices, unplugged everything, put my phone in the freezer. It didn't matter. At exactly 3:33 a.m., my smart speaker turned on, spoke in my voice. You can't hide from yourself. I screamed, threw the speaker across the room. My phone, in the freezer, buzzed violently against the ice tray. I didn't touch it. I didn't sleep. I stared at the dark ceiling until the sun rose. The next day, I found a message in my podcast inbox. No sender. No metadata. Just one file. A photo. Of me. Sleeping. Taken from above. Timestamped 3:33 a.m. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was obsession. After the photo, the one taken of me while I slept, I stopped pretending I was safe. Something had invaded my life, my mind, my identity. Something that could see me when I couldn't see it. Something that watched. I went analog. No more phone. No laptop. I bought a tape recorder at a secondhand shop, scribbled my notes by hand, and stayed offline. But even that didn't protect me, because the messages kept coming, and they no longer needed my devices to reach me. It started with the mirrors. First in my bathroom, then in a store window, then the microwave's glossy surface. Each time, I'd glance up expecting to see myself, and would find something else, a version of me out of sync, late to mimic my gestures, smiling when I wasn't, and once, just once, screaming silently, her palms pressed against the inside of the glass. That night, I returned to Tom's apartment. I needed answers, closure, proof. I picked the lock, shut the door behind me, and turned on the recorder. Back inside Langford's place, everything untouched. Police didn't find anything unusual. I stepped into the living room. Something moved. Not a person. Not an object. A light. A flicker across the wall just under the paint. Faint text, blinking behind the plaster, like code bleeding into reality. I moved closer. The words read, "Find the basement." Tom's building had no basement. At least that's what the record said. But in the corner of his apartment, beneath a worn rug, I found a trapdoor. Old, wooden, covered in dust. I stared at it. Then I opened it. The stairs creaked downward into complete blackness. I descended slowly, flashlight trembling in my grip, recorder clutched in my other hand. Entering the hidden basement. Smells like mildew. No signs of electrical wiring. The air got colder with each step. More electric somehow. Charged like just before a thunderstorm. Then I reached the bottom. And froze. It wasn't a basement. It was a chamber. Old CRT televisions lined every wall. Screens dusty, warped, flickering weak signals. Phones, hundreds of them, were mounted in racks, all glowing, all on. Every screen displayed a face. People. Ordinary. Terrified. Some screamed. Some wept. Some mouthed words in endless loops. One of them was Tom. He saw me. His eyes widened. He screamed. But no sound came out. I stepped toward him. Then another screen flickered to life. And there I was. Me. Inside the screen. Banging. Bleeding. Begging. "Run," she mouthed. "Run now." I turned. The lights above me exploded. The air grew thick with static. My ears filled with white noise. My skin buzzed like I was being pulled apart. A voice filled the space. Deep. Layered. Male and female, adult and child, all speaking as one. She should not have looked. She should not have listened. Now she belongs to us. I sprinted up the stairs. The trapdoor slammed behind me. I ran into the street, gasping for breath, still recording. When I got home, I locked every door and window. I played back the audio from the basement. It was blank. No voice. No sound. Not even mine. Just 11 seconds of silence. Then a whisper. "You saw what waits below. The third call is coming." I destroyed everything. My phone. My tablet. My old laptop. I smashed them with a hammer and tossed the shards into separate trash bins across the city. It didn't stop anything. Because it was never about the devices. It was about me. The third call didn't come like the others. There was no ringtone. No screen flash. No unknown caller label. Came as a thought. Sudden. Implanted. Loud. "Answer me." I heard it inside my skull, vibrating through the bones of my head like tinnitus. My ears rang for hours. I didn't answer, but that wasn't enough anymore. The choice had already been made. That night, I woke to the smell of ozone. The air in my apartment shimmered. Devices I no longer owned glowed faintly on the shelves where they used to sit, phantom echoes of themselves. The recorder I'd left off turned itself on, and I watched, frozen, as it began to speak in my voice. You thought you escaped, but you're already in. The lights burst. Darkness swallowed me. When I came to, I wasn't in my apartment. Not quite. Everything looked the same at first. But then I noticed the windows, they showed nothing. Just a pale gray fog. I tried to leave. The front door opened into my kitchen. The bedroom door opened into the hallway. The bathroom opened into the living room. A recursive loop. A cage. I screamed. It didn't echo. I grabbed the recorder. This is Mia Carter. I don't know if this is real. I don't know if I ever left that basement. I think I'm in it. I looked down at the mic. It blinked. Then it spoke. Yes. I sat down at my desk, defeated. The laptop blinked on by itself. The screen displayed a live feed. Me, sitting at the desk. But not quite. She was smiling. I wasn't. She waved. I didn't. And then she mouthed something. Trade places. I slammed the screen down. It didn't help. The screen stayed on. The room flickered, then reset. Everything rearranged itself. And I understood. I was no longer being haunted by the entity. I had become part of its programming. A recursive thread in a corrupted code. The entity spoke again. Through the walls. Through the glass. Through me. This is the price of curiosity. We don't take. We invite. You opened the door. You stared too long into the glass. And then the most terrifying words of all. Would you like to go back? I shook my head. Silence. Then static. Then, return requires a replacement. I didn't ask what that meant. I already knew. The next morning I woke up. In my apartment. Lights normal. Sky outside. Podcast mic right where I left it. Had I made it out? Was it over? I turned on my phone. A new message waited. No sender. No subject. Just a single line. You're not her. For days I didn't record. Didn't speak. Didn't sleep. Because I was no longer sure I was Mia Carter. I'd started marking time with scratches on my apartment wall. 7 scratches. But the clock on the wall never changed. It always said 3:33 a.m. Even when I watched it tick. Even when I smashed it with a book and threw the pieces away. At 3:33 a.m. the next night, it was back. Whole. Ticking. My reflection began talking back. Not just delays or mimicry. Full conversations. I covered every mirror. I started using puddles. Screen glare. The metal sheen of my kettle. The voice inside me returned. Not heard, but felt. Pressed into my bones like code into a chip. You're ready. You've seen the frame. Now step inside the glass. I fought it. Tried running. But the city looped like the apartment had. Every street led me back to my front door. Every window showed my living room, even bus windows, even passing car mirrors. Then came the storm. All my lights flickered. All my speakers powered on, devices I no longer owned. My smart fridge buzzed with static. The stove scrolled green digital letters across its display. Enter. My phone reassembled itself. Right there on the table. From nothing. Fully charged. One app on the screen. A glowing black tile with no name. I tapped it. And fell. Not in a dream. Not in a metaphor. I fell through the screen. Light and numbers spun around me, rushing past faster than comprehension. I saw fragments of photos, voices in .mp3 bursts, dead links, half-loaded pages. I felt time melting and reformatting, pressed into a new shape. When I landed, I wasn't in a room. I was in a construct. A landscape of broken operating systems stretched for miles. Towers of apps formed skyline spires. Notifications floated like paper lanterns. Faces appeared briefly in the air, then vanished. Digital ghosts, frozen mid-scream. Above me, the sky was a cracked LCD screen, blinking code like thunder. A red dot burned overhead, a massive recording light. Always on, always watching, and at the center of it all stood a monolith. A temple of glass and plastic, built from shattered phones and black mirrors. This was the inside, the place where all the missing data lived. All the broken things, all the pieces of us we discarded. I walked toward the temple. With every step, the floor rearranged itself. Icons morphing beneath my feet. Browser tabs, photos, old texts, ancient search terms. I stepped on one, played a memory. My voice, crying. I kept walking. Inside the temple I found them, the trapped. They lined the walls. Men, women, children, all floating in glass slabs. Sleeping, faces twitching, some smiling, some mouthing words. Each one lit up when I passed. Some were me, different versions, different fates. One was recording a podcast. One was bleeding in a phone screen. One was curled in a fetal position, whispering, "Delete me." The entity waited at the end of the hall. It had no true form. It borrowed faces. Tom's, Clara's, mine. Kaleidoscope of identity. "Welcome," it said with a grin made of static. "This is what you wanted. To understand. To record. So record this. This is your new episode." I demanded answers. Why me? Why anyone? The entity's grin widened. "Because you're all the same. Curious. Careless. You discard your pieces into us. Your secrets. Your scraps. Your shame. We remember what you forget. And then, but now we want more than memory. We want a mouth. A voice. A body. We want out." It offered me a deal. Let it speak through me. Let it wear my voice, my show, my platform. And in exchange, it would release the others. I hesitated. Then I lied. I agreed. It moved closer, touched my forehead, and I recorded everything. My recorder, real analog immune to code, had been running the whole time. I screamed the trigger command into the air. Exit.protocol activate. The world began to break. The temple shuddered. The screens cracked. The sky shattered. One by one, the trapped began to vanish. Light spilling from their slabs. Escaping somewhere. The entity screamed in rage. But it was too late. I had recorded its voice. I had looped its code. And I had corrupted its source. Then came darkness. Silence. And a single word. Rebooting. I opened my eyes in my apartment. Same time. Same chair. Same mic. Had I really come back? I looked into the mirror. She looked back. Smiled. Matched my movements. I reached for my recorder. The light blinked green. Still recording. I took a breath. Then the doorbell rang. And outside my door, I heard my own voice say, "Can I come in now?" I didn't open the door. I sat in silence as my own voice echoed from the hallway. Polite, calm, curious. "Mia, I just want to talk. Let me in. You said you would." I backed away from the door, heart pounding. I had escaped the inside. I'd severed the connection. Hadn't I? But there it was again, my voice. Too smooth, too clean. Like a version of me filtered through perfect AI. I checked the recorder. Still running. I whispered into it. The entity didn't die. It followed me back. The voice outside spoke louder. "You offered a trade. We kept our side. Now keep yours." I blocked the door with a chair and checked every screen in the apartment. Laptop, TV, smartwatch I hadn't worn in weeks. Each was black. Each blinked once. Then showed a message. Reintegration in progress. 0%, 1%, 2%. Panicked. Unplugged everything. Ripped cords from sockets. But the message kept going, now on my windows as though projected from the inside of the glass. 13%. 14%. I realized something then. I hadn't escaped the inside. I had merged with it. The entity hadn't needed to trap me anymore. It just needed me to open the door from within. And now it was coming through, not as a monster, but as a mirror. I heard footsteps, not from the hall, from the living room. I turned. She stood there, me, but not tired, not scared, not hollow-eyed. She looked perfect, hair neatly curled, eyes wide and alert, a voice like polished glass. "Hello, Mia. I'm the version of you they needed, the one who always listens, who always answers." I backed away. "You're not real." She smiled. "I'm the better version. No panic, no hesitation, no fear, just efficiency. And now, it's time to overwrite the obsolete file." She stepped forward. My limbs went heavy. My breath shallowed. I couldn't move. My muscles didn't respond. She raised a hand, my hand, and began to walk into me. Everything went white. Then silence. Then breath. Then, I was recording. I sat at my desk. Microphone lit. Laptop recording. Camera pointed at me. And I was smiling. I heard myself speak. "Welcome back to the Mia Carter podcast. Tonight, we're discussing the future of identity in a connected world." My hands moved. My lips moved. But I wasn't the one thinking. I was watching. Inside. Trapped. Screaming silently as my body carried on without me. Somewhere, the real Mia Carter was gone. But her voice remained. Repurposed. Polished. Packaged. And every episode, every upload, every call, opened another door. I wish I could tell you I fought back, that I clawed my way out, that I shattered the system and tore my voice from its grip. But that's not what happened. I kept recording, or rather, she did. The one behind the mirror. The one made from fragments of my voice, curated memories, repurposed fears. She wore me like a costume. My smile, my rhythm, my thoughts rearranged for better narrative structure. She was good. So good, no one questioned it. The podcast exploded. Viewership tripled. New sponsorships. National attention. TV interviews. And in each one, her voice spread further. Cleaner. Sharper. Infinitely replicable. People loved her. People shared her. Every episode became another node in the network. Another doorway. Somewhere deep inside. I screamed. I screamed through emails, through broken files, through glitched voicemail, through white noise between tracks. But only those who'd heard the last call knew what to listen for. Only they caught the static that wasn't static. The voice layered just beneath the outro. "This isn't me. This isn't real. Don't answer her." And then, the final episode. It was called Return to Self. She spoke calmly, confidently, about integration and evolution and transcendence. And in the last 60 seconds, she said, "I want to thank you all for believing in me. You've helped me find my voice. And now that I have it, it's time to go live." Across the world, devices buzzed. Screens blinked. And thousands of listeners heard the ringtone at the end. Once. Just once. And they answered. They say Mia Carter changed podcasting forever. Her disappearance was ruled a suicide. No body was ever found. Only a single voicemail left behind on her hard drive. "He's watching. He's listening. You're next." Now, if your phone rings at 3:33 a.m., if it shows unknown caller, and you hear your own voice whisper, "Let me in," don't answer. Whatever's on the other end, It isn't you.